name's Matt. Good morning, everybody. I'm a little nervous. We're going to get through this together. I'm sure I'll warm up for this very soon. Okay. I would like to just call myself a visual handyman. I do all kinds of different things, just from general art to illustration, graphic design, sign painting. So yeah, anything people need, I'm always happy to help, and I love doing new things. Here I am as a small child. This is the earliest drawing I could find. It is an alien crayon, and if you touch it, it turns your face into a skull. It's very fun, and here I am around that time with my, I wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger hair, and behind there is a little mullet, because I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the country. So at a time before the internet was really a thing, I didn't have cable, so I would just dress up in costumes and entertain myself doing general random things. Here I am dressed up as my favorite wrestler, Sting, which I'm wearing my Sting shirt today. Yeah, I love Bart Simpson, because who doesn't love Bart Simpson? I always thought skateboarding was very cool, but I didn't know it was really a thing people did. I thought it was just something that was on TV. But one day I did get cable television, and I tuned in to see Tony Hawk do the 900 on ESPN. I didn't really have a concept of what that was, but I knew it was the coolest thing that I'd ever seen, and I wanted to be a skateboarder. A few months after that, he put out this video game that I got and was obsessed with. I played it all the time, and I tried to get all my friends to skate, but none of them were interested in it. So it was just kind of a toy I had. I wouldn't really consider myself a skateboarder, but about the time I entered freshman year, I decided I'm gonna be a skateboarder. This is all I care about. I don't really care if I have friends. I'm just gonna do this because this is cool, like, whatever. So when you decide to be a skateboarder, naturally you're gonna turn to Google and say, what is punk? Because I think I'm supposed to listen to punk bands, and I don't know who that is. And if you Google who is punk, or who are punk bands, it's going to show you the Ramones. They might not be the first punk band that's up for debate, but that is what it told me. And I said, these are the coolest looking people I've ever seen. I'm not gonna cut my hair anymore, and my clothes got tighter, and it was just, a game changer for me. Here I am a couple years later, wearing my Ramones shirt that I bought from Hot Topic. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. So, even though I decided I was going to be a little loner and do it, this kid moved to my school named Tony. He became my best friend. He was wearing Vans, and I said, that's my guy. Let's be best friends. We got really into all the punk stuff. We started making duct tape wallets and wearing studded belts and just doing all this little DIY stuff, going to punk shows. He really helped me find myself at that time. I'm glad I had him. Here I am a little bit later than that. Now, I don't know how well you can see this photo, but I'm wearing the coolest outfit ever. I'm wearing girl pants, skin tight like LEI or like mud jeans. I have a pink bandana in my back pocket. I'm wearing this sleeveless cutoff shirt that my friend Phil, who is here, actually made. And I have straightened hair. Didn't like my curly hair, so I flat ironed it out. So one of the cool things about skateboarding and living in the country is it exposed me to the cool things that were happening in California and New York. So I got to see all these cool bands and learn about all this cool stuff. And the people in my school might have thought I was a freak for dressing like this, but I thought, this is how skateboarders dress. This is what I'm into, and it showed me a lot of cool things. I love a good Venn diagram. So I think skateboarding is just the intersection of athletics and art. You could be more of an athletic skateboarder, more of an artistic skateboarder, but I think the good stuff kind of finds that good balance in the middle. and it's going to lead you into DIY. Now, as a kid, I'm sure we all built little concrete block ramps. You just put a board on a concrete block, you jump your bike. We all did it. If you did it, congratulations, that's DIY. You did it before you even knew what it was. One of the first, artistic things I was really into was making stencils. You want to decorate your grip tape, whatever. This is me and my best friend for life, Jerome Thur, who's here. And in this photo, you can see I'm wearing a David Bowie shirt. At the time, you didn't really go to the internet for shopping, so I didn't know where to get a David Bowie shirt. And I really wanted one because, David Bowie is the coolest person ever. So I had to make my own Bowie shirt. Me and John went all over the country skateboarding, rolling around, doing all that. Then I got into making collages. You make collages when you're in elementary school, but they're a cool thing. They're easy to play around with. I wasn't really making art as a passion. I was just doing it to fill the time. And on a trip down here to Louisville once, at the local skate shop, I stumbled into this book called Bejesus. Does anybody know what this is? Okay, so this blew my mind. It had all sorts of cool art in it. It had a bunch of collages, photos from people who I ended up meeting later in life that are just some of the coolest people in the world. I can definitely say this single piece of media made me think Louisville was cool, and it's one of the reasons I moved here, if not the biggest reason. So I did. I moved here, and I was mostly just skating, making a little art here and there, but one day I stumbled into a coffee shop that was being built. It wasn't open yet, but I met the owners, and we hit it off. They asked me if I wanted to work for them. Yes, of course, they're very cool. Well, it turns out that Jason made Bejesus. So now my new boss was the guy who I looked up to and made all these cool collages. These were also the first people that made me think my art was at all cool, and they asked me to make more of it, and they wanted to see it. It was nice to have somebody be interested in that, which is also convenient because when you skate, and that's the only thing you do, you're going to fall a lot. There's a great picture of Corey Duffel just absolutely eating shit. So the more you skate, the more you're gonna fall. The more you fall, the more likely you're gonna get hurt and not be able to skate. In that time, I just started making a lot more art. I started working at a record store that Please and Thank You opened. So I was sitting in the back for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I couldn't make collages, I couldn't do paintings, but I could draw. So I got a lot more into drawing. This lady came in and said, "Hey, I really like your drawings. It reminds me of this lady here, Kate Binghamberg. You should get this book." I did. I was obsessed with it. She drew all these little daily things, and it was kind of the style I was drawing. I thought it was very cool. I also stumbled into this documentary called The Beautiful Losers. How many people know The Beautiful Losers? Just a few. You guys should all know what this is. It was so important to me. One of the most inspiring things I've ever found in my life. It led me to Margaret Kilgallen, who is my all-time favorite artist, hands down. She died before I even started making art, but we share a birthday. I think that's very cool. I don't really care about that stuff, but it's nice to have like that little connection. Here is some of her art. If you know what I do, you can definitely see how this was a very big inspiration to me. Around this time, I'm drawing a lot of stuff, and that led into like local bands and skate shops. Well, the local skate shop asked me to do stuff for them. So I had done some skateboard graphics in them prior to this graphic. This was just an earlier graphic that I found. So yeah, I started kind of taking art a lot more seriously and getting to do stuff for people. I was still making collages, and I was starting to like draw on my collages. I drew this little boxer man, and it just felt like a big breakthrough to me, where I was like, that's how I want to draw. I want to draw like kind of simpler, and I don't really care about making costs anymore. So, this is a skate shop up by Cincinnati that me and my friend Jerron grew up skating for. So I started doing more skateboards and kind of starting to get into this like flash sheet style. Obviously I have tattoos, but going into tattoo shops, I always loved the composition of flash sheets, even if I didn't like all the individual drawings, and I think there's something a little collagey about that. Okay, around this time, you can kind of see I got a little bit better at drawing after all this time. Luckily, you spend a million hours doing something, you'll get better at it. I started drawing simpler stuff. I think I was really drawn to that like early, mid 2000s graphic design stuff that was really simple. And I didn't know how to use a computer, but I figured I could draw perfect and try to make it look like it was from a computer. And so that's what I did. Around this time, I got asked to have an art show at the Green Building. I had had some art shows before this. They were mostly a lot smaller. This was the first one that felt like it was kind of a bigger, legitimate show. I named it Del Rio's Regal Motel after this fictional motel in No Country for Old Men, because I was really like referencing all the things I liked within my work. So the show had 100 pieces, which I didn't know was a lot, but they were like, that is a lot of pieces for an art show, for the people putting on the show to have to make all these title cards and stuff. It was a hassle for them, but it was a successful show in the sense of a lot of people came. I didn't sell out, but I did sell a lot of stuff, and I got a lot of positive feedback and had a really great time doing it. Around this time, I met my friend, the overhead projector. I thought people just painted murals like freehand, and it turns out no. People were either using a grid system or using overhead projectors. So I borrowed a projector from a friend that I kept for years, and it rolled around, and I started painting a lot of walls. This is at Kentucky Museum of Art and Craft. They asked me to be involved in an art show there where I painted stuff all over the walls. Local businesses started asking me to paint on their walls, and so I was starting to get a little bit of money for it, but I'm still working a regular job. So any extra money was cool, but I was just really excited to get to do this stuff. Pizza Lupo, I'm sure people know what Pizza Lupo is. I painted the bathrooms there before they opened. They were like, hey, we have this really cool idea. We don't have much money, but would you like to do this? I really went all out on it and did a ton of work for not very much money, but it was a good time. I got asked to be in this skate art show at the Carnegie Center in New Albany, and I got to be in an art show with Mark Gonzalez and like all these very famous skateboarders that I looked up to, but I wasn't that good at skating to where I was ever going to get to like rub shoulders with these people or ever be involved with them. So art got me to this place that skating couldn't. It also got me put in Thrasher magazine, which is the only skateboard magazine that really matters. So it was very cool to get to be in that, especially back then. So people were asking me to make them logos. I didn't know how to really use a computer. I didn't grow up like savvy in any of that. I didn't go to school. So I'm just drawing logos on paper and handing it to people and saying, here you go, here's your logo. Like, you can have somebody figure this out for you, right? It's not very professional, but sometimes I would work with a graphic designer and, kind of over their shoulder say, oh, let's move this over here. And I did this cover for the original Makers Club, and it was such a fun experience laying this out with Josh that I was like, okay, I need to figure out what's up with computers. These things seem like they're going to be here to stay. I should learn. And why not start with my good friend's home skate shop? Anybody who is a graphic designer could probably see all the problems with this, but I'm learning, and why not try it out with your friends? That way, eventually, when big, cool, famous people ask you to do stuff, you're not handing them a piece of paper. Bonnie Press Billy had to do a shirt for him. This was pretty recently, but it was still kind of a big honor, and I'm glad I didn't just act like a fool and hand them a piece of paper. I got to do a shirt for the local radio station. I listened to that growing up. That was the coolest thing in the world. I got to help out Queer Kentucky, which Spencer is here. I am such a big fan of this. Give them money. They're very important. So he asked me to do it. Hey, glad I know how to use computers. I can help them out. We did a shirt with the skate shop in 2020 to raise money. You know, it's good to just be able to bust out a quick shirt, send that off to a printer, know how to use computers. Charles Booker asked me to do stuff. Woo! Yeah. We love Charles Booker. But he asked me to do some stuff for him. His little legalize it shirt. You know, another cool thing we care about. Weed. And also, it's good to know how to do computer stuff for your friends. These were 2 events that just happened last weekend. But, you know, for friends, I made these little posters. So you want to be able to do it for your friends as well as for professional reasons. But we're going to go back a little bit. You know, as I'm doing these logos, people are asking me to paint more stuff, paint walls, paint whatever. This is kind of my personal stuff. So I'm still always trying to find time to do my own personal work. People kind of hire me based off that stuff. So I always have to have a little bit of a balance to make my own stuff. People are asking me to paint electric boxes or big weird signs that look like Halloween decorations for the side of their businesses. I'm painting signs directly on buildings. There's my good friends, please and thank you. It's actually pretty close to here. It's just a big old sign. I'm painting little signs, you know, because those are just important. You can kind of see on this neon flea sign, it's kind of got this fun cutout shape. It's because in my personal stuff, I was starting to make these little woodcut signs. This is Blaze Foley. But yeah, I'm sure maybe some of you guys have seen the shop bar sign on Barrett Avenue. It has kind of that cutout shape going on with it. A lot of people who I don't know seem to know me, or they at least like know this sign. So it's cool to have this thing that lives out in the world. And I know Shop Bar's closing, RIP, but I'm sad to see the sign go. I hope it ends up somewhere cool. I believe they really are. This is against the Grand Sandwich Emporium. This is kind of like midway through painting, but you know, I love getting to go into a place and then just say, have at it, go crazy. Because I will definitely jump at that opportunity and go all out. There is a little bit more of that. I got asked to paint this boot store. My friend Dan was like, hey, this guy wants me to paint the boot store. I can't do it, will you? Yes. It was very high. You can't really tell from this photo, but I was way up on a ladder for like a week painting like horses and cactuses and boots and shit like that. It was great. I love the boot guy. I'll get check it out. It's like 30 minutes away out in the East End. Here is something for Saraband Books. It's a little local publisher. Saraband, yeah. Woo. Lupo. They painted over their bathroom. They painted over my old bathroom, but they said, "Come back. We want it to be darker." And guess what? We'll give you a little bit more money this time. We're a successful business, so it's great. They say, you know, I like working with these people. They say, we want Wanda Jackson on our wall. You know, we want this, that, or the other. And I say, well, can I put Lou Reed on it? And they say, yeah. So I love that, like, getting to work with people, find, you know, little common things we like. It's a little cropped in. This is actually the most recent mural I did in a bar that's opening up. And it's kind of cut off down here, but me and the owner both love Twin Peaks, so it's like, hey, let's put in Nadine from Twin Peaks. We're not gonna go too obvious with it. Let's put like a little side character. We'll have this fun little reference. Sometimes I paint people's houses, which is a huge honor. People ask me to come into their house and paint stuff that they're gonna look at every day. It's pretty crazy. I love getting to work with these people. I love spending time at their houses and getting to know their dogs and cats and stuff. And I'm always sad when it's over and I'm leaving, and I just feel like, I don't know, I'm gonna miss them. So when you're doing all this professional work, you want to not forget about your friends. Your friends are going to come along and need help with stuff. My old friend's home skate shop. They opened a new place. They need a mural. Great, I got you. They want a skateboard. Great. One of the good things about working with your friends is you can kind of tell them what you want. I can say, hey, I think this is a really good idea, for a skateboard. Or, hey, that idea that you had, I don't think it's so good. Not that they do that, but I'm just saying. Then it's your friends who are a little bit more likely to tell them that kind of stuff. This is some doors I painted at Skate Shop Blacklist. And I said, hey, I have this really cool idea for the skateboard. I want to draw all these little different pieces of paper, lay that out in a kind of a collagey way, and they say, go for it. So now it gets to live out in the world, and I love that, other than just either being sold to one person and living at their house, or getting posted on Instagram and forgotten about. Now, my friend Paul, who is here, opened an indoor skate park. We're going to talk about this, but Paul said a really interesting thing to me the other day, which is one of the things that makes skateboarding so cool as compared to BMX or rollerblading or something is skateboard graphics. So this is the kind of stuff that draws kids in, makes kids think skateboarding's cool. And I couldn't agree more. It was a genius thing to say. But he opened an indoor skate park, and I said, whatever you need, I got you. I will volunteer, I will sweep, I will do whatever to get this place open. He said, I want a fake tree. It turns out fake trees are like $20,000. And there's a reason, because me and my friend Eric were like, we will build you a tree. We don't know how to build a tree, but let's do it. It sucked. It took so long to do it. So I can see why they cost $20,000. This doesn't even have leaves on it. It took a very long time. It was scary. It was really hard and dirty, but I'm so glad we did it, and that it kind of gets to live out in there. And I just love doing new things. So a nice new little challenge. Yes, that is what it feels like to be alive. To me, is doing something new. Now, when you don't forget about your friends, you also don't want to forget about your family. This is my great aunt and uncle and grandma, when they asked me to paint a sign on this old gas tank that doesn't even get used at the farm I grew up on. My great aunt, every time I talk to her, it's like, oh, I love that. I love looking out and seeing that. It is not special. It is the most basic sign ever, but it makes her day, and that makes me so happy. She used to take me to consignment shops all the time when I was a kid and buy me pink button-up shirts and a girl's paisley button-ups and stuff. Very cool. Very, very punk lady. So at the beginning of 2023, I got asked if I could do the art for the Tampa Pro and Tampa Am contest at the skate park of Tampa. I'm sure a lot of you don't skate and don't know that that is actually a really big deal. It's the longest running skateboard contest. It is very DIY, but it is a big deal. If you win that, you're kind of in the history books and kind of a made person. So when they asked me to come paint, I said, no problem, let's do this. They didn't have a lot of money, but hey, whatever. I'm happy to do this and to be a part of this. I went and spent 12 hours a day for a week painting this gigantic skate park and made great friends along the way. They also let me do pretty much whatever I want. You can't really tell how big this is, but this is a giant three-legged chihuahua. I say, I'd have to do a three-legged chihuahua, they say sure. A little bit input, but for the most part, they let me do whatever I want. It got put in a video game, which I don't know. At the time, I was like, okay, sure. Apparently, it's a big deal. My nephews, who don't think anything I do is cool, think this is very cool. Yeah. So at least I got some cool, I'm cool brownie points. And I grew up playing skate video games, so it's kind of a full circle thing. And speaking of full circle, I got to meet Tony Hawk. What? Not only did I get to meet him, like 2 other people. So that's kind of crazy that this person who inspired me to skate, which then inspired me to make art, like the art led me into meeting that person. So I just think it's great. Also, what's great about it is you'll notice I'm wearing my Sting shirt. First obsession led into, I didn't plan this, it just happened. I did plan this today, my wife told me to wear it. So, yeah, thank you to art, skateboarding, all those things. I'm pretty much done here, but I do want to end this with kind of a challenge / call to action, which is to do something for free or for cheap. I think as artists and makers and stuff, if we only make stuff for rich people, then rich people are going to end up with all the cool stuff, and you can't have that. So, for a friend or a stranger or a business that's starting or a band that doesn't have any money, if you don't do it, they will use AI and it's going to look terrible. We don't like that. There's nothing less punk than generative AI. Also, it's quite, somebody pointed out, it's very punk to, in a capitalist society, do something for free. Yeah. Do it for free. Yes, that is it. Thank you guys so much.
I love the message of like doing something for free or cheap. Also, just like working with your friends, I feel like is such a gift of being like creative and an artist. So give them another round of applause. All right, we have some time for a few questions. Does anybody have one? Ryan's ready.
Yeah. One, I just love seeing the way that you have, in just a very honest to yourself way, just been like, I like this, I like this, I like this, and mixing it together to make now this unique thing, because nobody has that exact taste of those kinds of things. So it makes me just wonder, now at this stage of your life, are there any new things that you're being super influenced by that is making its way into affecting who you are?
Yeah, I definitely. First off, the beginning part of what you said, I think is super important, and I wanted to talk about it, but didn't have time. Of like creating your own style just by liking stuff. If you just like stuff and are influenced by a million things at once, no one's gonna like all those same things, and you will like just be unique and create your own style. As for now, I'm definitely always inspired by new things. It could be like really old things or really new things. I just saw John Brooks is a guy who's an artist from Louisville and he lives in LA now. I just saw him post something yesterday. I was like, oh, that's amazing. I want to do that. Like he had paper all over his wall and was just making this gigantic never-ending piece. I'm like, cool, I want to do that. It won't be the same as his, but like I am always inspired by new things, whether it's a new artist or an old movie or anything like that. Anybody else? Oh, yeah.
Your subject matter is like super diverse, lots of different things. Do you have symbolism behind some of the things that you choose to depict, or is it just
Sometimes yeah, sometimes no. Sometimes I will be like, I'm gonna make a piece, if it's like a flash sheet with a bunch of things, I'll have an idea and I'll, want to tie those in. But sometimes I just start making stuff because I just want to start making it. So there's no like rule about this needs to be meaningful all the time or it's never meaningful. Like sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Also just want it to look good. Your art can mean whatever you want it to mean, but if it's ugly, like no one's really gonna care anyway. So let's get it looking good, and if I really have a message to push, it's gonna need to look good anyway. So yeah.
Do you ever get like stumped with like doing murals where you have like a lot of figures that you're obviously like drawing from? Do you like get stuck like trying to not repeat things? I feel like you use so much like icon, like I don't know if that would ever.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely feel I'll get in a rut where I'm like, oh, I'm just drawing horses, and then I gotta stop drawing horses. And then a year later, I'll look back and be like, man, I was really good at drawing horses. I should have like just kept drawing them while it was natural. So I used to be way more quick to stop drawing stuff, and I've definitely repeated stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've drawn like Patti Smith or something like that. But yeah, is that kind of?
Yeah, I was wondering if you're like always trying to think of something new, or you're just like.
No, I have like, I'll just
practice.
make a list in a folder of just like things I want to draw, and it started out with like 30 things. Now there's probably like 1,500 things in that folder. It's like I have an art folder on my phone of like screenshots, and I think now it has like probably like 5,000 photos in it.
Okay.
I'm never going back to look through those, but I am screenshotting like 60,000 photos on my phone or something ludicrous. So I'm just never going back through any of that stuff. It's just digital trash at this point. I need to be better about that. What notebook? I usually have like a little field notes notebook that I'm always just jotting stuff down in. I try to like not have pockets full of stuff today. Like don't have my AirPods and like all my stuff on me. So I don't have my notebook on me. But yeah. Yes.
Since you've been so inspired by tattoo flash sheets, have you actually done tattoo? Or not you, but drawn for.
Oh, I've definitely drawn a ton of tattoos for people, and had people just get things I do tattooed. I had a lot of people ask, "Hey, I want to get this thing tattooed. Do I need to pay you?" I'm like, I cannot stop you. Like, if you want to buy a print, like great, but if you want to get tattooed, that's awesome. It's that's an honor. I did a stick and poke tattoo on my leg once, and it took such a long time that I was like, I'm just gonna order a tattoo gun and tattoo my legs. I tattooed my friends a little bit, but I don't encourage that. You should not get tattooed by your friends. Well, you should if they're good and legit, but don't tattoo your friends. Don't get tattoos at houses, even though I've done that. Yeah.
Have you ever taught workshops for kids? Because I think you need to.
I would love to. I love kids.
I think you clearly have the ability to give folks the freedom to just try.
I don't even know how to get involved in that world. If you know how I get involved in that world, that would be great. I love any of my friends who have kids or my nephews. I'm always very encouraging of that and stuff. So, and I think it's really important to encourage kids to do that. In that Beautiful Losers documentary, they said something about telling a kid, hey, that thing you're doing is great, let's put it on the fridge. And that kid then grew into this artist. And if the parents didn't care about it and just threw it away, who knows what really would have happened. I make art despite no one ever caring about that. Where I grew up, that was not a thing that anyone did, and I still ended up doing it. So who knows what would have happened if I was actually encouraged to do that from a young age. Yeah, I would love to teach kids.
One more if we have it.
Way back.
There you go.
Do you have you run into any obstacles that you'd be comfortable sharing, or any lessons learned from the hard times?
I would definitely think my biggest obstacle, like a lot of artists, is just hating yourself. And just you look back and see stuff and just be like, that sucks so much. I even felt like a lot of the stuff I gathered for this wasn't at all my best stuff. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm not really trying to showcase my best stuff. I'm just trying to kind of tell this story. But it's also nice to look back at stuff and see a lot of stuff that you do like. But I would definitely say the biggest obstacle is negative self-talk and talking myself out of making things. So the best thing is just put it down on paper if you can, and you can end up using it or not. But if you talk yourself out of it, you're just going to kind of sit around your house all day. We can't be doing that. Is that it?